Hey guys, what's up? It's Jen. Today we're going to be talking about coming out of the closet. I'm not talking about that closet. I'm talking about the chronic illness closet. And just so you know guys, I am a hint of Migraine Jen. I had a migraine last night and this morning. I'm still kind of coming out of it, so I might be weird. That's an example of me coming out of the chronic illness closet. It takes a certain amount of bravery, courage, vulnerability to say, hey, there's some screws loose in my brain. These parts of my body don't quite work right. It's very personal to share that with somebody. But when you suffer with symptoms that affect your social life and then you want to have a normal social life, these topics do need to come up and you need to talk to the people who you care about so that they know how to handle you when you do get weird. The problem with the disabilities that I have is that I come off as extremely normal. A lot of the time, you can't tell the difference in health between me and somebody else who's my age. But the truth is that there's a lot going on under the hood, and so I need to let the people around me know. I recently did a guest appearance for a virtual support group. This support group is for young adults who are living with chronic pain. And one of the questions that they asked me was whether or not I have conversations with people ahead of time to warn them that I might have a bad flare day or that I might turn into Migraine Jen. I get this question a lot. The answer is a resounding yes, because I prefer a little bit of embarrassment up front to save me that lot of embarrassment later if I suddenly turn into Migraine Jen and they have no idea that it was coming. That is so worth it so that Migraine Jen can totally just be herself and feel free and enjoy and not worry about looking funny in front of other people. Here's a video all about those conversations. I know I've told you guys this before, but when I first got sick, if I was ever around people, I would just try to hide it. Straight up. It was really embarrassing. I was hoping that me and the doctors would be able to figure it out and I would have a cure and then I would just be better before anybody had to figure out that this super weird stuff was happening to me. But that's not how the cookie crumbled. Here I am 5-6 years later, still suffering from even worse symptoms than I was in the beginning. And so it is inevitable. I need to bring this up if I'm going to be hanging out with someone for more than like an hour. I know I can come off as perfectly normal in a YouTube video, but that's because of a lot of clever cutting, a lot of pre-planning, being able to look down at my notes whenever I need to, and only filming during literally the best days that I have, the best feeling hours that I have. I don't have that luxury of timing when I'm going to be hanging out with people. Now, I obviously prefer to share about my illnesses when I'm feeling well rather than when I'm feeling sick. But if I am feeling sick, I do usually have my husband around and he can help out filling in the gaps where I need. Whenever I bring up the topic of my illness, I like to let people know that I'm not shy about it, that I want them to feel like they can openly talk about it because that's what we do in our house anyway. I tell them the floor is always open if you have questions. I'm happy to answer. I let them know that this is really normal for us. So even though it is hard, there's devastation in it, there's certainly turmoil, there's trauma. I tell them that we do try to find humor in it too when we can. So when we're having a good day and when we're socializing with friends, we might make jokes about it or we might laugh about some quotes that I say, and I let them know that it's okay to laugh with us too. But of course, to be tender and use their discretion because it's not always an easy topic to talk about. It's similar to a deceased loved one. There's a whole past life that I am mourning that I have to let go of. Sometimes the heaviness of the things that I have to miss out on or the discomfort and the pain of the symptoms that I need to go through make it too heavy to joke about in some moments. But guys, sometimes I say things like yesterday I scratched an itch on my head and my fingers weren't working, but I was able to move my shoulder. And I said, you don't need arms. What did I say? You don't need hands to use arms. And I went like this to scratch my head. That's incredibly sad. But it's also sort of hilarious. I'm gonna say it. I know it's not correct, but it's funny. It's a funny quote. Does this mean that I'm giving people open and explicit permission to make jokes about my disability or about people with disabilities? Of freaking course not. That's the sitter. I gotta go get the baby. Hold on. Look at the pineapple. I'm not condoning making fun of people or laughing at them. You guys know this. What I am saying is that life is not fair. Life is full of hurt. And if Migraine Jen is going through all that and is still finding humor in the situation, then I think it's more than fair for the people around her to feel comfortable sharing in her joy. I cope with pain through humor, and it makes me happy to have other people share with me in those times of heartache, but also share with me in those times of humor. And I think it's important that I let my friends know that I'm comfortable with that, and that it makes me happy, and it makes me feel included, and it makes me feel accepted for who I really am. And that is me, but also me with high cranial pressure. It's like, love me at my best and love me at my worst. Because I do, so you better. Ooh, look at that. All right, a couple of different situations so that you guys can know how I handle it, and then take what you like and leave what you don't. We go to story time at the library every week, and let's say I met a random mom there and we want to hang out sometime. I invite her over to my house so that I don't need to worry about driving, and she has no idea that it's so that I don't need to drive. She just thinks I invited her over to my house. So far, so good. She has no idea that I'm sick. When she comes over to hang out for the first time, if it's a day when I'm not very flary and I feel really good, then I am probably not gonna mention it. On those days, I take the win, I fake it till I make it. If I say something kind of silly, I let them know, oh, I have this weird brain thing, we'll talk about it in detail another time, but let's just enjoy today. I do that sort of low-key mention so that later it's not so much of a bomb. But on that first meeting, if I can get away with being invisible about it, then I am invisible about it. And that's kind of too bad. That's kind of why I enjoy being on YouTube and sharing my story. Like, I'm someone who's very confident in myself, but I'm still hiding this side of me with people who are new. So that's just a little bit of a societal shift that I'm hoping will change. I'm hoping there will be a little bit more love and acceptance and patience with people who aren't able to communicate as well as other people, or who don't have functioning limbs like other people, or who don't have normal heart rates like other people, or who can't stay awake when they're standing up like normal people. Now, same lady from library time, let's say she's coming over, but I happen to be having a bad day that day. Crap, that stinks. You know, I always sort of feel a layer of guilt when somebody comes over and they're hoping to hang out with me, what I see as normal me, but they're actually getting Migraine Jen. I feel guilty because I feel like I've false advertised in some way. Like, this is what you were signing up for, but like, is what you get. Like catfishing, like I gave you a really hot profile picture, but then you came over and I'm actually like a Migraine Jen. That's my impression of Migraine Jen on the couch. Power sleeping for 12 seconds. That's totally fine. I let them know when they come over that I'm not feeling well today. If it's really bad, obviously I cancel. But if it's moderately bad, I let them know when they come over that I'm not feeling that well. Usually I'll ping them with a text just to let them know ahead of time, hey, I'm feeling migraine-y today. A lot of people understand that migraine-y means that you're going to be slow, you're going to be sensitive to light and sound, you're not going to want a lot of commotion. So they know from just migraine-y that I'm going to want things to be a little bit mellow when we hang out that day. Hi. We're happy. We're happy because we have kisses. I don't remember where I left off talking. Shh, 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 shh. I do also let them know explicitly when they get over to my house that I'm going to be a little bit quiet. I'm going to be a little bit tired. I let them know that noises and lights can be stimulating or painful for me, so I might need to take a few minutes to myself. And if that happens and I don't feel like I can politely excuse myself in the moment, I'll just put up a finger. I warn them ahead of time that sometimes I can decline pretty fast because my migraines have been called complex or complicated, and I also have high cranial pressure, so I can suddenly get symptoms of brain tumor. I tell them it's excess fluid instead of excess mass, but the symptoms can be really disabling. And so if I need a quick moment, I will put up a finger, I might get quiet for a moment, and just thank you for your patience while I figure out what's going on with my symptoms. Overwhelming majority of people, if you say something like that, they'll say, oh my gosh, just let me know if you need anything. Let me know what I can do in those moments to make it easier. You know, at that point, they realize that something is serious and they really just want to help. And so I've had really great success, and it's been really encouraging to actually just open up and be vulnerable in that way. So if you're somebody who tends to be a little bit more in the closet and a little bit less vocal about how many symptoms you're really feeling, I would encourage you to try opening up just a little bit more than you're comfortable and see how people react to it. I've been pleasantly surprised, and I hope that if you do it kindly and gingerly too, and you really say how you feel in your heart, that you'll be received well too, and you'll be blown away by the amount of support that you have in your life. It's so easy to always feel alone when you're sick, and that is the last thing you need when you're going through something as horrible as this. So the more people you can have in your corner, the better, and give me a minute while I settle down this sweet girl, honey. Oh, my sweet babies. My little sunshine. Shh, 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 shh. Me happy. Dude, it is getting so hot in here with all this wiggling. Look at what you did. I do have a service dog. He will alert me before those migraine or high pressure declines, and he will also alert me before an incoming faint due to POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Anytime Buddy makes an alert, I make an announcement to the room. I told a very detailed story about this in a recent video, so I'm not going to reiterate the details now. But in general, I kind of like to just be a straight shooter. I like to get to the point, and I don't want anybody feeling like they need to whisper or peek from across the room or try to wonder what's going on with me if I'm off in a corner with my service dog. I prefer to just let the room know, hey, this is what's going on with me. I feel like it's safer for me. It's good for me to feel comfortable in my skin, especially if it's in my home. You know, this isn't like normal, but it's part of me, so I don't want to hide it. And I also think it's important educationally so that people realize how able-bodied some people who are disabled can seem. I am so discounted as somebody who could possibly be sick because episodes are episodic. I'm somewhat normal in between these spikes in cranial pressure, but that doesn't mean that when the spikes happen, I'm not going through something that is very big. What exactly I say when the dog alerts depends on what he's alerting to and how vigorous his alerts are. To an extent, it also depends on what I'm feeling, because I can sort of tell from the day, how the day has progressed, how bad it's gonna get. Combination of me and Buddy, I can have a pretty good idea of where things are going. So what I say to the group depends on what I think is gonna happen, but most of the time it's something very simple, like I might take a little nap for a bit, but don't be alarmed. Assuming my husband is there and all the safety stuff. If I don't have my husband to respond, I'm gonna have Buddy to respond. And if I don't have my husband or Buddy to respond, then the person who I'm with is gonna know what to do. That is a conversation that happens way before we get anywhere near the situation. That is just one of my safety layers, like baseline safety layers that I need to feel safe. That sentence. Once everybody knows what's going to happen, I feel safe from future embarrassment. I know that's weird, but simply announcing, hey, I might faint, makes me feel not that embarrassed about the fact that I fainted. If anything, it kind of makes me glad if these people see this happening, because then later on, if I let them know, hey, I'm kind of feeling flary today, they're like, oh, right, because she actually does have this legitimate medical concern. Otherwise, all they hear is me, chatty, chatty, yada, yada, won't be quiet, being like, oh yeah, some days I can't say anything. Right. So that can be a little bit tough. Those preconceived stereotypes of what I might be like when people are not around are tough, because usually in their heads, I'm a lot more up and about than I am in real life. One more thing, I'm gonna come over here. Sometimes when we play games with friends, I can't handle that because I'm Migraine Jen, or even if it's like a moderate day, I really just can't follow a game. There's gonna be conversations, I'm gonna be needing to watch the kids, I'm gonna be needing to leave to use the restroom, I'm gonna forget my strategies. So I do get some accommodations for board games, and I know that this is really funny to put it in that way. It's accommodations, like it's school or work or whatever, but I feel like that's the most accurate term to call it. One thing is that my husband and I will often play on a team for board games. I know that two heads is better than one, and in some ways that's not very fair. But the people who are closest to us understand that my brain just can't hold on to all this information. I don't have that many active channels that can light up at the same time to be able to enjoy the social interaction and also play the game at the same time. But I can enjoy both if I pop in and help my husband sometimes, but for the most part, he's playing the game. So that's one thing I do. The other thing that I do is, for example, for strategy games, I will have a little notepad that I can write on, and then I leave it face down in front of me on the table. It's sort of embarrassing to admit, but between the turn when I decide what I'm gonna do and the next turn when I actually do it, and especially if this is like a 5 turns in advance kind of strategy that I'm trying to play out, then my friends allow me to have a little notepad in front of me to write down what my strategy is. This has never been contested in my group of friends. Everyone's always been really understanding, mostly because they all understand that I forget everything. They have watched me forget things. I forget things all the time. And all it took was me coming out of the closet and asking if they would be okay with that for me to be able to now enjoy those things way more than I was enjoying them before. My friends will also help me with things like going and refilling my glass of water, because they know that the postural change from sitting on the couch to standing up getting the water and then going back to the couch might flare up my symptoms. If you have accommodations that you can think of that you have with your friends, your family, your loved ones, please drop those in the comments below. All this to say, guys, it's really hard to come out of the closet. Many different types of closets. But the chronically ill closet is one closet I'm really glad that I came out of. I think these real life situations are becoming one of my favorites to talk about, because I think it's important that we share what things are really like behind closed doors, because otherwise there's no way for the world to know. There's no need for us to suffer in silence anymore. The world is ready to hear it, we just need to be ready to share it. I hope I've inspired you to do the same. We need to switch sides. I'm like burning up. It is so freaking hot in here, guys. Summer is here. Happy June. Love you, mean it. Goodbye.